Hi, this is Courtney Drake McDonough. I'm the publisher and managing editor of the online culinary travel magazine RealFoodTraveler.com, and welcome back to another Real podcast. On today's podcast, we're talking apples, specifically the Gravenstein Apple and its festival, which happens every August. And a bigger picture, we're going to be talking about the agricultural scene in Sonoma County, California, which is more than just vineyards and the wine that comes from them. And my guest today is Carmen Snyder, who's the executive director of Sonoma County Farm Trails and the manager of the Gravenstein Apple Festival, which this year happened August 17th and 18th in 2019. So, Carmen, welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So give us a little background on the Gravenstein Apple and why it is worthy of its own festival.
So the Gravenstein Apple is a very unique apple. It's the earliest harvested apple. So it comes in the late summer, and it is only available for about 6 weeks. So it's got a short harvest season. And hence that's why our apple fair is always in August when the Gravensteins are ripe and delicious. And the Gravenstein itself has actually been put on the Slow Food Arc of Taste as a heritage heirloom variety. And the renowned horticulturalist Luther Burbank said that if there could only be, I'm paraphrasing, but he said if there could only be one apple, he would choose the Gravenstein because of its flavor profile and its versatility. So it's an amazing apple for just eating straight off the tree. It juices beautifully. It makes fabulous applesauce, wonderful apple pies, apple fritters. And more recently, especially in Sonoma County, the Gravensteins are being utilized as a value-added crop to make hard cider. It makes a wonderful hard cider.
What color is the apple?
It also varies that way. It can be a little on the green to yellow side, and it's quite a beautiful apple. It's kind of small and a little funky looking, and it's got these lovely striations, which is how you can kind of know that you have a Gravenstein in hand, these kind of wavy stripes that are red to orange.
Okay. And in our grocery store, with the different apples, they'll give a little description, more tart, more sweet, whatever. Mm-hmm. How would you describe the Gravenstein apple?
I would say it's a perfect combination of both tart and sweet. Okay. And it's got some crunch to it. It's not a mushy apple. And the Gravenstein was super popular here and grows and thrives in Sonoma County particularly. Like there are many regions where you cannot grow Gravensteins, and Sonoma County happens to be one of them because of our cool, foggy mornings, the soils here, the influence from the Pacific coast. So it's very similar to Pinot Noir in that way, in terms of the growing conditions. And but like I said, it's very particular microclimates that will allow the Gravenstein to flourish. And so that's another unique thing about Sonoma County is that it used to have just a ton of Gravensteins. Actually, the main highway that runs through Sebastopol is called the Gravenstein Highway. And when the global food scene started to change, and say the Golden Delicious or these beautiful big red apples came on the market and were able to be shipped across the country and internationally, the Gravenstein started to decline a little bit because it doesn't travel well. So it's kind of finicky that way too. It doesn't have great shelf life for travel, and also people started to favor fruits that were more perfect looking. I'm putting that in quotes, and not recognizing necessarily the beauty of the funkiness of the Gravenstein. Although it's interesting to note that during World War I, the Gravenstein most of the Gravensteins in Sonoma County, my understanding is, were harvested and dried, because they also dry well, and were shipped to the troops.
Interesting. I'm glad to see that funkier looking produce is becoming, and I'm doing air quotes here, in vogue. And I hate to use that expression, but, heirloom tomatoes with all their misshapenness and, and melons and things like that. So
they taste just as delicious.
Exactly. And I think it makes them, more interesting to eat because they are unique, like people are unique. Everything's different. So you mentioned that they're a little bit too fragile sometimes to ship. So does that mean we can't get the Gravenstein apple outside of California?
Pretty much you can't. I think that there are a couple of places where it grows in New England, and maybe, I've heard of a few trees up in Oregon, but it is largely a Sonoma County phenomenon, which is part of why it's so celebrated in Sonoma County, because it's just part of our agricultural heritage. And I do believe, we have some farmers who will ship boxes, but in terms of mass shipping to grocery stores, that just doesn't happen.
Yeah, okay. You mentioned cider, and I want to, before we talk about the festival, I want to ask a question about that, because here in Colorado where I live, there's a cider maker, and I'll give a little shout out to Haken Family Cidery, because I interviewed them, and the very interesting thing with them is that they don't do blends of apples, because they feel that certain heritage apples just have such an amazing flavor that they don't want to change that, with merging it with other apples necessarily, or doing things like adding chili flavor or other things that are sort of trendy right now. So when cider is made from the Gravenstein apple in California, do they typically just use the apple because it has such a wonderful flavor? Or, is it the kind of apple that cider-wise can stand on its own?
It certainly can stand on its own, and, we have a ton of craft cider producers now, and I'll just, as a side note, I'll tell you that at the 2012 Gravenstein Apple Fair, we had the launch of the first craft cider Sonoma County business at the Apple Fair. And so we had one craft cider producer. And at this year's Apple Fair, we now have a whole dedicated craft cider tent, and there were 18 local producers, local craft cider makers. So it's an industry that is flourishing here, and it's part of the way that these new farmers and fourth generation family farmers are able to add value and an additional revenue stream to their farming practices. And it's wildly popular, and it's gluten-free. And so it's, some of them make straight up Grav ciders, and some add other heirloom apples like Pippins, and, there are many combinations that exist. And I love a straight up Gravenstein cider too.
Cool. Well, when I was in Sonoma County visiting a couple months ago, earlier this summer, people kept talking about the Gravenstein apple and the festival. And am I saying it was the festival or fair? How do you title it?
It's the Gravenstein Apple Fair.
Fair. Okay. All right. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So people kept saying, you got to come back for it because it's amazing. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to come back.
Well, hopefully next year.
Yeah, it's right. There's always next year, and I do hope to make it back for that. But what people kept telling me was it's a fair like no other. It isn't just a typical county fair. It isn't, just sort of a yuppie thing. It's just so unique and so special. So that really, really made me want to go, and which is why one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you for our podcast, because I wanted to know, what is so unique about this fair. So give us the rundown of what it's like.
Okay. So this year was the 46th annual Gravenstein Apple Fair. So I think that's a unique thing in itself, is that it's been happening since 1973. It was started as the annual fundraiser for Sonoma County Farm Trails, which is a nonprofit that works to support local farmers. And we really try to maintain our agricultural roots and connect the dots for people. It's not a for-profit event. It's not just entertainment. There are no jumpy houses or bouncy castles and cotton candy. It's really deeply rooted in the agricultural traditions of Sonoma County. So, for instance, we have a venue that we call Life on the Farm Arena, where we have amazing programming all day long, both days, where you can learn from local farmers and producers and experts and get a glimpse into life on the farm. So, for instance, we have sheep shearing demos. We have goat milking demos where you can watch a goat being milked by hand and even try your hand at it, come up and see the animals and touch them. We have experts who are teaching about how to keep backyard chickens or how to keep goats in your backyard. We have beekeepers with live hives on site, demonstration hives, so you can see what a honeybee hive looks like and talk to all these incredible beekeepers about their methods and practices. So that's one element, is that you truly get a feel for the agricultural underpinnings in Sonoma County. Another piece is that we have extraordinary farm-to-table food, because we're so blessed in Sonoma County with the bounty of what can be and is produced here. So the food vendors are just stellar. So the meals that you're going to get are amazing. The libations are all from Sonoma County producers. So, of course, we're known for our fabulous wines. And to me, I mean, this is maybe one of the best-kept secrets of the fair, although if you get to the fair, you realize it, that you're buying a world-class glass of wine for $6 that in a restaurant you would be paying, for some of them, between $14 and $24.
Wow.
So you get, you really get to experience and taste the flavors of Sonoma County. And then I mentioned, of course, the craft cider tents. We also have a venue called the Artisan Tasting Lounge, where we have local producers come in with everything from, olive oil tastings from olives that they grow and produce here, to seaweed that's harvested, to oysters, to charcuterie. And then, of course, Sonoma County is also known for amazing cheeses. So in the Artisan Tasting Lounge, you can meet the producers, you can learn a little bit about their process, you get little bites and sips of their products. So it's a way to really viscerally engage with the flavor and the bounty of what's produced in Sonoma County.
That sounds wonderful. How much space does the fair take up?
Oh my, I should know that. We have the sweetheart deal with Regal Ranch Park in Sebastopol. It's a regional park, and it's got these gorgeous, huge old oak trees and some open meadows. So there's a lot of oak shade. The vendors set up under the oaks. Our venues are nestled under the oaks. And then we also have some big open spaces. And the founders of Farm Trails actually helped to create the park. So we have this lovely relationship where we get to host the Apple Fair every year under these just magnificent old trees. And we're the only event that takes place in this park. And I will learn that one for the future, but it's quite a big footprint. I mean, people are surprised. Sometimes they're meandering through the park, and they don't even realize there's a whole second wing that they haven't even explored yet.
Wow.
Because we have live music on 2 stages that alternates on the hour. We have, like I said, the Life on the Farm arena. We have a do-it-yourself arena where you can learn from the experts about how to make things at home in a low-tech way. Like, for instance, this year we had Peter Coyote come in and teach folks how to make jam at home. And we had one of our farmers teach them how to make goat milk soap. And we had a fiber artist teach people how to use natural materials for dyeing fiber.
Oh,
so there are numerous venues, and there are over, we had this year about 120 vendors. So we also have amazing artists and crafters that come in to sell their handmade wares, and it's a juried show, so we really have a high bar. We want it's not a global import sort of fair. It's folks that are actually making their crafts, be it jewelry or ceramics, or this year, one of my new favorites is we had a woman there making old-fashioned brooms.
That's neat. So is it the kind of thing where you could take it all in one day, or do people typically come back?
You would be hard-pressed to see everything in one day, and most people are surprised about that, and many come back for the second day because they find it so delightful, it's uplifting, it's beautiful. One of our local flower growers provides us with just tons of these gorgeous flowers that are everywhere, and the ambiance is so sweet, and the offerings are so many that we do find that it can be a full weekend experience for the whole family. And I should mention, too, there's a really robust kids area where we have giant bubbles and stilt walkers and sing-alongs and arts and crafts. And we also have ag games there. So, which was one of the highlights for me this year, was the piglet race. And I had just expected that they were going to, kind of put the piglets at the start line and that they would just run toward the food. But it actually was about a 20-minute race because they all got diverted, and people were rooting for their various pigs, and it was so sweet and really delightful.
Oh, I can only imagine. That sounds so fun. It's so nice to know that it's under trees and stuff, because I was picturing your typical fair and festival, on pavement in a parking lot, and
no
you're
pavement.
Searing. Sounds lovely.
It's a little tricky because it is, kind of uneven ground, and we always have gopher spotting each year, but you're walking on grass, and there is a bit of a paved trail through the park, just a little sidewalk. But yeah, there are lots of picnic benches, and we bring in tons of straw bales for seating as well.
Well, it sounds really charming. What's the typical admission fee?
The admission fee at the gate is $15 for adults and $12 for seniors and $10 for kids.
Okay.
And if you buy tickets in advance, locally, you can get them we have a wonderful local bookstore called Copperfields that has many, many storefronts around the county. And we have a local grocery store, Oliver's Market, which also sells our tickets in advance, and a farm supply store, Harmony, that sells tickets as well. And in advance, we offer the historic prices I think we've kept the price down to what it was in the 90s. And in advance, you can get adult tickets for $12 and kids tickets for $7.
Okay.
So we want to keep it, our costs rise every year to produce the event. It's quite an expensive endeavor. Yeah. And we still want it to be affordable for our community. So even though it's our primary annual fundraiser, we also feel like we are, in a way, subsidizing this event for the community.
Right.
And we rely on a lot of community sponsors to help us do that, and we're so grateful for all of the support that we get.
Mm-hmm. Well, sounds wonderful. And so you don't have two 2020s dates yet, but it is August, right?
It for
Every
sure
year.
will be August, either the second or the third weekend, and we're going to make a decision about that really soon.
Okay.
Because, like I said, it's such a short season that obviously we are having the Apple Fair in the peak of the season, and that tends to be the peak.
Right. Okay. So that leads into then the Sonoma County Farm Trails. So tell us what that is.
Sure. So Farm Trails was started back in 1973 by a group of forward-thinking farmers who wanted to connect the public with the producers. So back in 1973, this is, of course, before farmers markets, it's before the internet, and before folks could really sell directly easily to restaurants and groceries. There wasn't, my understanding is that the distribution laws made that quite difficult. So this group of farmers in Sonoma County who all had farm stands got together and decided to create a map plotting all the farm stands in the county on the map and giving some detail about the address, the hours of operation, and what they had to offer. And so that's how Farm Trails got started, and I think they were really pioneers of the modern local food movement because they wanted people to connect with their farmers, and they realized that for farmers to be most viable, they needed to have those direct outlets. And, of course, the technology has changed, the landscape has changed. Farmers markets took off in a huge way in the 80s. And so with that, Farm Trails has kind of adapted our model as well. So, for instance, whereas back in 1973, 100% of our farmers had farm stands that were open to the public, now I would say the majority of our farmers go to market. They sell to restaurants directly. They sell to grocery stores. And they don't, it doesn't make sense for them to staff up and keep a farm stand open every day of the week. So what we've done to find an elegant solution, I think, to that is that Farm Trails has started to create seasonal tours that we curate where our members who aren't always open to the public will open up just for the weekend. So we have one in the fall that's been happening since the late 80s called Weekend Along the Farm Trails, and then a sister event that we've started about 10 years ago that happens in the spring at the very beginning of the season called Blossoms, Bees, and Barnyard Babies. Mm-hmm. And so during those events, they're two-day weekends, and the farmers open their barnyard gates and doors and invite the public to come onto their farm to visit the farm, to connect with the animals, to see what the equipment looks like, to see what their how they manage their soil. And a lot of the farmers they all give tours, and a lot of them will also offer workshops and demonstrations, and of course they sell their products too. And Farm Trails mission, our boiled down mission is Farms Forever. We're really focused on keeping farmers viable in Sonoma County. And so part of it is to promote and market all of the farmers in the county, the small, diverse family farms and what they're doing. And the other wing is that we simultaneously want to educate the public about the importance of supporting local food systems and about so that they understand the true cost of well-grown food. And these tours are a great way to do that because they get to connect directly with their producers. Hopefully they purchase from them. They create lifelong relationships. They start to recognize, hey, they're at a restaurant and, these eggs came from Singing Frog Farm, or this is the olive oil from Montevillaria that I just visited. And so they have a deeper relationship with their food and appreciation of it. And, it's one thing to meet a farmer in a farmer's market, and that's amazing. You get recipes, you get you get to ask them questions, you get a sense of their practices, and it's a whole other level of transparency and relationship to actually be on the farm and see what it's like. And that is life-changing for a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. And in this day and age, it's so important to really understand and celebrate and nurture along, local U.S. farms, because, the new generations aren't sticking with it like they used to. And
exactly.
So that's really wonderful. You mentioned the fall and the winter. I hear you also have a holiday along the farm trails.
That is true. So we have an extended initiative that goes from November through the end of the year, and it's called Holidays Along the Farm Trails. Mm. And through that, basically our goal is that we want people to know all of the foods and products that are available to them for creating fabulous holiday feasts, and also for shopping for their holiday gifts. And so we have kind of a rolling tour. It's even more self-directed because it's not just one weekend. It's spread over a couple of months. But we have this interactive website link where you can see what everybody's offering, and you can just chart your own adventure to visit the farms and to source locally. And truly in Sonoma County, you can practically source your whole holiday meal, from the butter, the olive oil, the meat, the cheese, the olives, the wine, the cider, the produce, through our farmers. And we encourage people to do that, because just in my own personal life, when I sit down to my dinner table and I know where all of my food comes from, and I know the farmers who grew it, it enriches the experience. It feels better in my body. I feel more integrated in my community, and it's a whole other level of community and communing at the table.
That's a beautiful way to put it. That's really wonderful. I take it with all the trails, you need a car, right? To get between them all.
Well, Sonoma County is a pretty big county, so generally I would say that you do. Although we certainly have cyclists as well who will, just kind of pick a little micro region to cycle through. Mm-hmm. And we always encourage carpooling. And I should mention, too, that our tours are free to the public. They're free to our producers, so it's not a money-making event. I mean, we hope that the producers make money on their products, but it's really about forging those connections and providing the space for that. So that's something that Farm Trails incurs all the expense of the marketing and advertising and the staff that it takes to facilitate the tours, in the hopes that the producers will thrive and that the public will have this amazing farm experience that's not only fun and exciting for the family and beautiful, because they're just these, spectacular picnic sites even that you have access to, but also that they'll be educated. Like they can go to they can watch how cheese is made at the Bohemian Creamery. They often participate in our tours, so you really get a behind-the-scenes look.
I think that sounds like a dream day, to just like make a whole day of it and stopping periodically to eat what you've purchased, or take it back to your home or your hotel, and and enjoy some of the things you got through the day. I think that sounds just lovely.
It really is, and and it's always so delightful to be out on the trails. And I love what I come home with. It's just like, this bag of goodies. We encourage people to take coolers and baskets. Mm-hmm. And I will say that when we started tracking the attendance about 7 years ago, for our spring tour, we had about 500 attendees sign up online. And again, it's free, but we just wanted them to register, to kind of have their finger on the pulse of the numbers. Mm-hmm. And we were like, wow, that's great. And this past spring, in our spring tour, we had 10,000 attendees.
Wow.
So one thing I know from my time at Farm Trails is that the The public interest in getting out on the farms and connecting with agriculture is growing tremendously. And I think that's a wonderful sign. We're just thrilled about that.
Well, I love hearing about this because, somebody who doesn't live in California, and speaking on behalf of everybody everywhere who can get to California easily, what a wonderful way to spend your vacation. To really get to know the growers, and to know, the wine scene obviously in California is amazing and deserves all of its reputation, but that isn't everything that Sonoma, is known for and should be known for. And to be able to see it in this unique way and, person to person meet these farmers and, as you said, be on their farms and enjoy their products, I just think that is such a wonderful way that people don't usually think of to experience a destination. So I think this is great. Before we go any further with the Gravenstein Apple Fair, what is the website for that, and what's the website for the farm tour?
Sure. So the Gravenstein Apple Fair website is Gravenstein, which is spelled Gravenstein, gravensteinapple.com. And then the Farm Trails website is farmtrails.org.
Okay, and we'll have those live links for everybody on our website in conjunction with this podcast for sure.
And we should mention too that we have a little airport in Santa Rosa, which is super accessible and low key, and there are flights, I believe, now to Denver and many towns and cities in the States now fly directly into Santa Rosa, so you don't even have to go to San Francisco.
Well, and you took the words right out of my mouth, and good for you. Yeah, because we flew into Sonoma from Colorado, but now more flights are happening all the time, and I noticed Minneapolis flies in, and Dallas, and all up and down the West Coast. And I'm sure more will be opening up because they are really popular. And that airport is the cutest thing, and it's so easy. I mean, I could not, you walk off the plane on the tarmac and you walk into the building and everything's right there, and there is no massive walking or having to look at signs and figure out, well, where do I go now? It's easy peasy and easy parking, and I thought it was fantastic. And you drive out of it, and there you are. You're just right in the action. And while we didn't get to do the farm trail, I do want to note for everybody that there is no unattractive drive in Sonoma County. I mean, every road is just gorgeous, either, a canopy of trees overhead or, peeking through and seeing vineyards right there by the side of the road, and it's just so beautiful there. So, even in between your stops, it's a treat. So that's wonderful. We will give the link to all the different airlines and flights that go in and out of the Charles M. Schultz Airport, and you get to see some Peanuts cartoons up on the wall, which is fun. So yeah, it's a great airport to fly in and out of. It makes getting to Sonoma super easy. Well, I think we've covered it all, and I just really encourage people to make reservations to go to the Gravenstein Apple Fair next year, and as I said, we'll give you the link, so if you keep up with that, you'll know when the next one's coming for 2020. And for people to partake of the trail, fall's coming, the holidays along the farm trails is coming up, which sounds just awesome. So I can't think of a better way to go to Sonoma and really experience it in all the best ways. So,
absolutely. And this fall, our weekend along the farm trails is October 13th and 14th, and that is an amazing way to celebrate the harvest. You can pick your own pumpkin. There are corn mazes, and again, not the giant, commercial jumpy houses or the pumpkins that are just trucked in. It's like you pick them off the vine, which is, I think, also a rich experience.
For sure.
And that's one that our attendees often love, is the U-Pick experience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I have to ask you, the poster for this year's Gravenstein Apple Fair was the famous "Yes We Can" woman, and then I got a picture of you, and you look an awful lot like her. Was that modeled after you?
Not deliberately. It was the concept was, with the centennial of the women's right to vote, and we really wanted to focus on the farmers, and so she's a composite of female farmers, of which I am not, but I do have long braided hair, so there's a similarity there, I guess. And she's got a Gravenstein in her hand, and then a tattoo on her arm that says "Farmers Forever." And one thing that we offered at this year's Apple Fair, we always have at our Life on the Farm arena interview panels with farmers. And one day we had 5 different female farmers being interviewed, and that was one of the highlights of the fair for me, to hear their stories. And the eldest was in her 90s, and the youngest was in her late 20s, and one was an apple farmer and cider maker, one was a Christmas tree producer from back in the day, and now a shepherdess. We have a horse rancher woman who also does a lot of fiber arts, a flower farmer, and a vegetable producer. So, and that's we did video that panel, and we'll have that available soon on our website, and it's well worth checking out.
Mm-hmm. Well, what you said makes me remember one of the wineries we were at, where the man who runs it was saying, we're farmers at heart, and just hearing you talk about the variety of type of farmer who was represented in that panel, I mean, it really does strike you that there is so much to farming, and so many different kinds of farming, and what a wonderful way to understand that, and to meet these people face to face and find out what day-to-day life is like. I think it just sounds so great.
And it's truly, I mean, it cannot be understated that it's a labor of love and a true calling and vocation. I mean, we are all eaters, and we rely on our farmers, and it is, I think, the hardest work in the world, and it's obviously very rewarding and satisfying on many levels for them, or they wouldn't keep doing it. But it's, I think that farmers are heroes that are under celebrated, and that is really part of our goal, is to help people understand their tremendous dedication and intelligence and passion and expertise in doing what they do to feed our community.
Well, beautifully said. Beautifully said. I could not have concluded our conversation any better way. Carmen Snyder, thank you again for being our guest. Carmen,
my pleasure. Thanks so much.
Carmen, again, is the Executive Director of Sonoma County Farm Trails and a manager of the Gravenstein Apple Fair. And we really appreciate your time, and I encourage our podcast listeners and RealFoodTraveler.com readers to make plans to go to Sonoma soon and experience this deeper, very, very interesting and necessary side of Sonoma County and of the whole farm industry. So thank you again.
Thanks so much.